Florida State wins big with the proposed settlement with the ACC.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in to talk Seminoles with me. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com. Today is a wild day. I'm on the road back from the Miami Under Armour event. Long drive. And sure enough, of course, when I'm in the car, Florida State, the news that they're going to have a settlement along with Clemson with the ACC TV contract. And I just want to give an overview of what I think it means in 3 points. This is not a deep dive yet. There's too many points that I need to see come out officially, keyword officially, before I do that. But this is a win. If you take nothing else from this podcast, this is a definitive win. And I know Florida State fans are not going to accept, they've made their voices heard for months. They're not going to accept any concession to the ACC, but that's not how litigation works. But they are getting a win out of this. And again, I'm going to give you 3 things. But before I do, here is the primary point. Where's the money coming from? How does the settlement work? There's 2 areas. It's just a basic paragraph, but it has a lot of meaning to it. And again, that's what I'll break down in 3 different parts. Number 1, the brand initiative for like whatever the total is in the money for each year, 40% is distributed among 14 teams in the league that are traditionally in the ACC. Cal, SMU, Stanford would be the other 3, obviously. The 60% of the revenue moving forward based on this, again, this alleged agreement is based on how you win, basically not just win on the field, but in TV ratings. Think about this. If we went back retrospective to, let's say, 2010, we'll make about 15 seasons. Would there be any other school besides Clemson that Florida State would be within 5 to 7%? I doubt, maybe even 10 in terms of ratings, like overall, like what money they made. If it was just like individual entrepreneurship, Clemson's really good. They got a great brand. Obviously, they won a lot, but they've got a really rabid fan base. So is Florida State. They're very much like one another, and that's why they're good rivals. They are similar programs. Well, with that being stated, that's not how it worked for a long time. And of course, that's why the lawsuit came about. So with that, moving forward, and this is just my estimate, this is not from anybody else. Conservatively, I think based on what's being reported, again, 60% based on how the TV ratings work, Florida State's going to end up about $20 million ahead in so many other ways. There's a lot of things that go into that, not just TV, but I think contributions will be higher. I think they'll have more opportunities because of the money they got coming in for their brand. And again, I'll break that down here in a second, all 3, but that's a conservative number. Think about what $20 more million can do year after year after year after year. Just run that through your head. It's insane. Florida State will benefit and eventually win more games, not just in football, women's athletics, baseball, whatever you want to say, when you have more revenue. You're going to have better people. You're going to have more support. You're going to have more sponsors. Money helps you get more money. So let's dive into the 3 points. Number 1, hiring and firing coaches. Obviously, the basketball program is going through a massive change. You're going to have people leaving because a new coach is going to come in. You got to hire. He's going to get rid of people. You got to pay out contracts. Then you got to hire all these new people. You lose as a college, no matter who you are, when there's a massive change because there's going to be different contracts that get terminated, et cetera. There's a lot of flux. So money for contracts, and I'm just using basketball because, Leonard Hamilton's leaving. This is a big deal. Could be a women's soccer coach. It could be the baseball coach. It could be anything that goes on. When there's change, it's not just the head coach. It's all the people around. Having that kind of money makes it a lot easier. Plus, you got the GM. You got to think about the athletic department's lead personality. That would be the AD. All these things change over time. So having an extra, give or take, $20 million a year, again, that's my number, nobody else's. I'm not saying I got that from anybody or did any special math, but I'm going to guess $20 million a year. Yeah, you're going to do a lot better. Secondly, that money, what do I talk about on this show all the time? Recruiting. NIL for players straight out of high school and junior college, as well as transfer portal additions. Florida State will do a heck of a lot better in that regard because, like I reported a week or two ago about like Georgia, they spend more money than anybody by a long shot on recruiting because of their budget to fly coaches everywhere, how they treat people, how they travel, like higher end for hotels, how much money they spend on the parents on these recruiting trips for official visits across the board. Georgia spends an insane amount of money, and it helps them win. Note, they have one of the highest rated programs year in and year out in terms of just talent, going to the NFL draft, rankings, championships, all above. Money matters in football. Recruits want to be around the best facilities, everything else, and they can show that. Georgia's facilities are the best in college football. Money, money, money. It's just the way it works. Finally, when you look at this, there is something that kind of goes back to an old school theory. It hasn't really nothing to do with sport. This is just in general, and it's kind of an American theme. You save money for a rainy day, and you also take money to make more money. If you're bringing in more into your coffers, you can try to take $10 to make $20. You take $20 to make $40. Doak Campbell Stadium, for instance, Florida State is renovating that. It's like $200 million. You wouldn't have had to have borrowed as much if all of this had already been generated. This is a big deal for Florida State. So if you take nothing else away from what's been reported, at least thus far, note that Florida State won this because they're going to get more money. And I know there's an emotional attachment to this. I'm taking the emotion out of this podcast 100%. I'm just looking at this from a business-only perspective here. So people that are mad that there's any kind of settlement, you are never going to be happy. That's fine. You have every right to complain. The ACC has not done Florida State or Clemson any favors. But with that said, getting a chance to get out of this by 2030, allegedly, and then these numbers with the TV contract, can't really go wrong. I'm happy that it's going to be over with in some capacity. Maybe there's a few things that need to be changed, but until it is officially reported, I'm not going to report much on this because I don't trust that there won't be a last-minute change of some kind. I need to see it officially reported. I hope I do a podcast in length about this sometime in the next 48 hours. That would be splendid, but I need to see more details for that to happen. Until then, I kind of want to just leave that right where we're at here, and then I'll go back into some of the recruiting stuff from Under Armour on Tuesday as well. I'll probably do that early in the morning, and hopefully, we get some more resolution, if you will, with the ACC deal. But again, the backside of this, that's a lot of money that Florida State, if they're going to go by 60% distributed based on TV ratings, Florida State and Clemson are going to shoot way up in how much money they make. It's going to change the athletic department, not just football, all around. It really is a big win for Florida State. And again, I know there's the emotional attachment on how Florida State athletics has been treated. Totally get it. This podcast is 100% about the financial side of things. Zero emotion here, just financial. Florida State football gets the win. The athletic department gets the win. So Florida State fans should be very happy about that. When we come back tomorrow, again, I'm going to talk a little recruiting. And depending on exactly what's reported, there might be a second podcast in regards to this. Hopefully more details, maybe something that was a turning point. I'd like the backstory. I'm curious too. Like, why was it this long to get it done? I don't know, but I think it's all fascinating. Please like and subscribe to the Locked On Seminoles podcast. I truly appreciate you stopping in to talk some Noles with me. We'll see you again on Tuesday. Take care.